I've been in a relationship since 2010, and over these years, we built what I thought was a solid life together, raising our 2 children and creating a home filled with moments that felt secure and happy. These days, though, things have been different. I'm currently finishing nursing school, dipping into my savings to keep everything afloat as my wife isn't working. Her issues with alcohol have been a persistent storm in our lives, a cycle of denial one day and confession the next, leaving me walking on eggshells, never knowing what version of her I'd come home to. The reality of our situation became starkly clear last weekend. Around 2 a.m., I was jolted awake by the sound of her phone buzzing nonstop. Instinctively, I reached for it, worried it might be urgent news about her grandparents. Instead, I found notifications from Facebook. What I uncovered next felt like a punch to the gut. She had reconnected with an ex, one who wasn't just any ex but someone with a criminal record for violent charges and fresh out of jail. The messages between them were littered with hearts and flirtatious comments. The real shock came when I found explicit videos involving her and this man. I sat there, stunned and disoriented, as I copied the videos and screenshots to my phone. I felt detached, like I was observing someone else's life implode. At dawn, I confronted her. She burst into tears and promised to stop talking to him and delete her Facebook account, but her words fell flat. The betrayal was too deep, and her promises felt hollow. I told her she needed to leave and go live with her parents. When she began to hyperventilate and collapsed onto the floor, I managed to lift her and place her on the bed before leaving for work, the anger and hurt weighing down each step. The aftermath of that confrontation left the house tense and quiet. I could feel the distance between us like a wall. When I returned from work that evening, she was waiting, eyes red and swollen, pleading for forgiveness. I stood there, detached and unyielding, telling her that I needed time to decide what came next. The trust that had once been the cornerstone of our relationship was shattered, and there was no way to pretend otherwise. The next few days were a blur of anger, sadness, and attempts at normalcy for the sake of our kids. On a recent Friday evening, she left the house claiming she was heading to a group therapy session. 4 hours later, she stumbled back in, reeking of alcohol, completely unhelpful with the kids. My chest tightened as I checked her phone again, an action that had become instinctive. What I found confirmed my worst fears. She had continued messaging her ex, and they were making plans for a hotel meetup. Confronting her in the middle of the night, I expected excuses, denials, perhaps even tears. Instead, she lashed out, accusing me of being not man enough and calling me lame. The words stung, but what came next was even worse. She compared me to her ex, saying he made her feel full and complete in ways I never could. The insults were laced with cruelty, and I realized just how far she had fallen. But it wasn't just about me, it was about the home we'd built, the family she was willing to burn for her recklessness. As I recorded this confrontation secretly, she turned the tables, accusing me of infidelity and making our kids seem like burdens. The final blow came when she said she wished they had never been born, a statement that cut deeper than anything she had said before. I knew then that this was beyond saving. I told her to leave immediately. She packed a bag and left without looking back, taking cash from our safe as she went. I didn't know it at the time, but she had also taken Mikey, our dog. The next day, I found myself changing the locks and sitting in a house that felt emptier than ever. The weight of the betrayal hung over me, but it was mixed with relief that she was gone. I called the police to report the missing money and the break-in. They arrived, took my statement, and asked if I wanted to press charges. I did. Filing the report brought an odd mix of emotions, vindication tempered by sadness. I felt a strange sense of finality, but little did I know that things were about to escalate even further. Just days after she left, my phone started buzzing with messages from friends. Screenshots flooded in, showing how she had launched a smear campaign, spinning lies to paint me as the villain. Yet, to my relief, most of my friends saw through it and offered their support. A few days later, I visited my lawyer and explained the entire situation, showing him the recorded confrontation and all the evidence I had. He advised me to get a restraining order and report everything to Child Protective Services, CPS, to strengthen my custody case. Divorce proceedings began swiftly. That evening, I received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was hers, filled with venom. Her new partner joined in, both hurling threats at me, demanding I drop the charges. I hung up and immediately called the police, who logged the call and increased patrols around my home. A friend suggested I get a firearm for protection, and though it felt drastic, I decided it was necessary for the safety of my kids and me. 3 nights later, I heard noises outside. My heart pounded as I checked the CCTV footage installed after her threats. 3 figures were lurking by the front door, trying to break in. Fear surged through me as I grabbed my gun and rushed to my kids' room, locking the door behind me. The seconds felt like hours as I called the police, keeping my eyes on the camera feed. Sirens pierced the tense silence, followed by a burst of chaos, shouting, running, and then gunshots. Minutes later, the police rang the doorbell, telling me it was safe to come out. My wife and her partner had been caught, but the third man, a stranger, was dead. My wife had been shot in the leg, while her partner was injured but alive. She was arrested and taken away, her face a mix of rage and disbelief as they loaded her into the police car. Over the following months, she appeared at court hearings in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, a stark reminder of how far she had fallen. The divorce was finalized not long after, granting me full custody. The weight that had pressed on my chest for years began to lift, and for the first time, I felt the faint glimmer of freedom. The months that followed were challenging but brought a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. The house, once a battlefield of tension and betrayal, transformed into a place of calm. I threw myself into my routine, juggling nursing school, work, and parenting alone. Though exhausting, there was a new clarity in my life. The children seemed to feel it too, behaving better and showing resilience in the face of so much change. Mikey, our dog, was found and returned to us, a small victory in a sea of trials. Then, she was released from prison 3 years later. When she showed up at my doorstep, hoping to see the kids, I felt a rush of emotions, anger, pity, and the echo of old pain. I didn't let her in. Instead, I called the police, who asked her to leave. She walked away in tears, and that was the last time I saw her in person. I filed a permanent restraining order, determined to protect the peace I had fought so hard to rebuild. Despite the distance, she continued to send messages, pleased to reunite, apologies mixed with delusional promises, and even unsettling pictures that spoke to her state of mind. But she never asked about the children, which only confirmed that my decision to keep her away was right. She was caught up in an endless loop of self-pity, unable to see beyond her own failures. Life slowly started to take shape again. I learned to enjoy the little things, like playing with the kids at the park or helping them with school projects. The echo of the past lingered but felt more manageable as time went on. Friends and family became lifelines, offering me the support I had been too proud to accept before. Each day, the gap between who I was then and who I am now grew wider. I became stronger, more confident, and more at peace. The climb to rebuild my life felt steep, but without her holding me back, the summit seemed achievable. The kids grew, resilient and strong, a testament to the fact that sometimes, choosing the hard road is the only way to secure a better future. To anyone who has endured betrayal and hardship, know this: there's a path forward, even if it feels impossible at first. You can rebuild. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've come this far, your support means everything. Please consider subscribing for more stories like this one.